Cardshop Talk, and today, Josiah and I are going to talk about the banned and restricted stuff. Right, Josiah?
No!
I lied to. There you are.
So, we got this nifty little camera.
We got the camera, so we have some of the cards. Maybe things are a bit too big. I don't know. I can hardly see you, though. You need to, like, scoot back. There you go. Cool. So they announced, what, 4 banned cards? Yeah, you can do that. They banned 4 cards?
4 cards in standard.
In standard. By the way, Kaladesh, whoever was in charge of Kaladesh design, might need a slap on the wrist. Because they banned Aetherworks Marvel, Smuggler's Copter, and now
Attune with Aether.
Attune with Aether. A rare, a mythic, and now a common. Banned out of Kaladesh. Excuse me, from standard.
Aether Revolt.
Say goodbye, Rogue Refiner. You were super busted. When have they ever, though, by the way, printed a 3-cost card that draws you a card and has more upside? Like, Phyrexian Revoker, or not Phyrexian Revoker, Phyrexian, you know the guy that makes you lose life and you draw a card? Cost 3?
Probe?
No. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name. It's a common, but like, most of the time when Wizards of the Coast prints a card that costs 3 mana and draws you a card, it's like bad. It's a 1/1 or it's a 1/2 and it doesn't do much because it draws you a card and that's strong.
This thing gives you energy, too.
This thing gives you energy.
Something you can't interact with.
So do you think all the bans are deserved? No? Yeah?
Well, we have 2 more bans. We had Hour of Devastation.
Yeah.
And there was
Ramunap Ruins.
Ramunap Ruins, which is uncommon. And then in Ixalan, you have Rampaging Ferocodon.
Which I didn't quite understand, but maybe that's because I didn't play much against Ramunap Red.
I think I stand by the fact that I knew Attune with Aether was going to be banned.
You called it pretty early.
Pretty early, and it's because I run the more modern events here, and in modern, having a turn 1 is super strong.
Yeah.
And kind of like, and it's strong because anyone can do it, but it's normally like something like a Thoughtseize or holding up path mana or push mana,
right.
which is really good. And
yeah.
that's just something you kind of have to have in your deck. Not all modern decks that win and do have a turn 1, but you kind of have to have one. And in standard, right. This made not only one deck, but one deck in all its iterations have a turn 1 play, and it fixed your mana.
And it was always good too, right? Because it's early game, it fixes your mana. If you draw it late game, it's the equivalent of drawing a land anyway.
And it gives you more mana, so it turns your hubs back on.
It turns your hubs back on, yeah. It does everything.
And especially if you're playing something like Pummeler or something like that, it just has even more utility of just, that's what, 2 more points of damage if you're playing Pummeler, or
yep.
Having Harness Lightning mana and stuff like that.
Pretty good.
So yeah, it's just it literally turned what would be the Aetherworks deck into a 4-color deck, and it's just better all of a sudden.
Right. And just from like the store's perspective and things like that, I think we've seen maybe kind of a decrease in F&M attendance, but you know, our dedicated player base and stuff like that still show up. They're just kind of not excited about playing against that particular deck, and it's a combination of, yeah, the deck is really good, and then I have to play against this deck all the time. So much so that even some of my more experienced players that play here have just chosen to play other decks out of resistance to that deck.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, Attune with Aether, I think, out of all the bans, was the one that was most needed.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. Like
it's just so pervasive.
Yeah, it comes to a point where you probably shouldn't have the option of playing whatever variant of a deck you would like to. And I mean, energy's already a busted mechanic, and then energy, the deck, is also already good, and Attune just makes it versatile and really good.
Yeah.
And it allows you to have that kind of customization that most top tier decks don't normally have. Like you can play
You can board in a lot of stuff.
You can board in a lot of stuff. You can play the different combinations, Teamer or Sultai, or have that fourth color, which is really cool, but it's also broken in what is standard currently. And then you take out Rogue Refiner, which only makes the deck more solidified. Basically, they're taking all the legs out from under.
Yeah, so does this kill the deck? Does this kill energy?
Long Tusk Cub is good. But most cards, most removal spells, it's like the Cub test. Like you still have Fatal Push, you still have a Braid. And so you can still kill Long Tusk Cub, which is good.
And the new Chupacabra.
Yeah.
The 2/2 that destroys target creature.
Well, originally they were saying that would be in the Sultai list. Mm-hmm. So energy was going to get the Chupacabra.
Right, they were going to do it.
But yeah, so like the Chupacabra, Harness Lightning, a Braid, and Push, they all killed the Cub. So like it's not as good because that was like already something people like in the deck. You were afraid of the Cub, but Attune A set you up for turn 2 Cub, and B Rogue Refiner just like came in after the Cub to like replace itself and further make the Cub more lethal. And so yeah, I think the deck becomes less formidable. I mean, it still has Bristling Hydra, but like that's a turn 4. What are you doing turn 1 and turn 3 in this deck now? And you have half as many cards or
they've essentially eliminated 8 cards from the deck that were pretty good for the deck. Because Rogue Refiner is a 3/2 that draws you a card, so it's like an aggressively curved card for the most part. Trades with a lot of different things, and replaces itself immediately. Like you don't even have to kill it.
Yeah.
It just replaces itself immediately, and then gets you energy. So there is no viable. I feel like there's not really a good replacement for this card. What is it, Whirler Virtuoso, I guess? But they already played with that.
Yeah, they already played with that, and like so now they're probably going to have to pretty hardcore play Teamer now. Probably Sultai Energy is dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just going to play Teamer, and it's probably not going to be as good. The one thing that I don't get, is the bannings in Ramen Up Red.
Yeah, that was a little bit surprising to me too, and maybe just because it wasn't here like in our local ecosystem as much. We didn't have a lot of people playing Mono Red, which is why we go to Time every single Friday. But not a lot of people were playing red aggro decks.
Well, I would watch Magic Online, and there'd be a lot of people playing Rampaging Ferocidon, and it was a pretty I guess when you first see this card as a limited card, or when I was pre-releasing the can't gain life clause, I kind of thought that was always pretty cool, but that's not why Ramen Up Red played it. They played it because of whenever another creature enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. And so it would kind of hurt Ramen Up Red because they want to play creatures, but it's also a 3-drop, so like by that point you've probably already played like 3 1-drops and then Rampaging Ferocidon.
Yeah. And
so it doesn't hurt you as much, but it would just basically was very oppressive to other decks. Like token decks.
Yeah.
It nukes token decks.
Because of the lose life clause and everything.
And so online I saw that card was pretty miserable to play against. Is whenever someone would match up against Ramen Up Red, this was the most oppressive card in the deck.
We have a couple comments about that. Dark Sword and Neogancer both said, so once you eliminate Teamer Energy, Ramen Up Red immediately becomes the best deck.
So they were just
cleaning
house?
Yeah, because so the whole reason why Wizards of the Coast does the bans to begin with is because they want diversity in the format. Because if they have diversity in the format, everybody feels like they can play something that they like, and it's more interesting to watch, and they sell more packs, right? Because at the end of the day, Wizards of the Coast wants a happy customer base, and they want to sell more packs, right? So yeah, that makes the chat here makes a really good point where you eliminate Teamer Energy, which is this huge kind of behemoth of a deck, and then of course, if the mono red fastest deck in the format suddenly now, it takes off the cuffs basically, and you can go crazy.
Yeah.
And that was all the bans. It was just banning that stuff, and I preemptively
took away Ferocidon Ruins.
Yeah, but so Rampaging Ferocidon is the only card in Standard that stops people from gaining life. right? And so then what? So all the like red style aggro decks now, they just. Is there a reason for the hand cam? The reason for the hand cam is so we can talk about these cards. You know.
But we're not doing very good at using them.
No, we're not.
But yeah, I mean, you have a lot of cool vampire stuff, and I think.
Oh yeah, with all the life linking vampires and stuff, so maybe they want to
think,
open up the road for that.
Well, I think a lot of, because I think of Rivals after playing Rivals, yeah, Pirates got some cool stuff. Dinosaurs got fun stuff. I think if anything, and I mean you have Silver Gill Adept. Outside of those things, I honestly think after playing in a pre-release, Vampires got the most stepping stones to like actually be playable in Standard, and kind of with Ferostodon out, it makes, if those decks get really good, you don't have like a counter to that really.
Because then the red deck can just slam this down, and if you're making tokens, you're just losing life, and you can't gain any more life. So they wanted that strategy to flourish, I guess.
Which is just like, I think it probably could have anyways.
Yeah.
Without banning that card, so I just hope it doesn't make them another problem.
I don't know. That might
maybe the vampire deck, because it's like the Dusk Rose or whatever.
Yeah.
The new mythic, she's really good. The Lord is really good, and it already had good cards like Call to the Feast, pay 4, make 3 1/1s, and now you have that Always Watching card for tokens. Divine something or other. It's that card with Ascend, where
you choose
Vigilance and +1/+1.
Yeah,
that card.
They want that card to be really good as well. Here, I'm gonna make this smaller so that people can see your face better. There.
Don't do it. But
I did it.
But yeah, so it's, I don't know.
So I agree with Attune with Aether, and I pretty much agree with Rogue Refiner, and I feel like that pretty much kills the deck. I don't feel like Rampaging Ferocodon and Ramanop Ruins, Ramanop Ruins makes no sense to me.
I think I'm more okay with Rampaging Ferocodon because there's so much cool kind of graveyard stuff and land stuff that's in Rivals, where Ramanop Red could probably be a toolboxy card in a newer deck. Yeah. So having just banned it allows no one to really play with that extra 2 points of damage. Ferocodon seems okay now that kind of makes, because it is, after seeing Magic Online games, it did seem like a card that was the target immediately. More so than Hazoret. It's like, a god is a god and it's always going to be a threat.
Right.
But like, to make the deck work, the Ferocodon made it all of a sudden go, okay, I can't really play anything, or I'm taking damage, I can't gain life, so it's like,
I have to kill Ferocodon.
I have to kill Ferocodon, then worry about Hazoret, which is pretty miserable, but I just hope that they've now opened the floodgates wide open to really Godfarer's Gift in every fringe deck that they've now built.
Yeah, and I think Godfarer Gifts is going to get like pretty. I mean, it's already pretty.
It's gross. It's
so now instead of Temur Energy and like the variations of the energy decks, we're going to get different Reanimator decks. And Reanimator is my I love Reanimator. I just love getting a creature back out of your yard for less than it would normally cost, and just playing around with that. So I'm really excited about that. A couple things from chat. They want Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan to be played, so that means tokens and lots of creatures. So like we were saying in the vampire tokens and stuff, and Rampaging Ferocodon does kind of shut that down. But you want a balance, so I don't know.
So that's what I hope is that, like I said, I really enjoyed playing vampires this weekend, and I think that vampires, more so than any other tribe, automatically became more viable in Standard. I just hope that because we don't know what it'll look like for the next couple months, what happens if vampires becomes indomitable? And then all of a sudden they've banned the card that could have balanced
the only card, because unless I'm just not remembering correctly, there aren't any other cards that say players can't gain life this turn, player can't gain life. Yeah. I don't think there are any of those effects left, are there?
Because there's a lot of good cards, and like you have that new Asperia, or the new Sphinx that is Sphinx's Rev on a creature.
Yes.
Imagine Godfaring that card back.
Yeah.
Swinging with a 4/4 flying that you can just Sphinx as a Revelation.
Which is absurd. Yeah.
Because Esper Godfarer's Gift or Esper tokens is not viable in this, so it could happen, and that's a miserable creature to have attacking with Godfarer's Gift.
Yeah.
So, so I get why the red cards were banned now. I wish they could have kept Ferocodon banned. I don't really get. or I just wanted to play more with lands. I think
Ramen Up Ruins.
Because I wanted
I
wanted to test with the Shaper card, the World Shaper. He's the one that when he dies, bring back all lands to the battlefield.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that makes that card a little bit less exciting because all the desert cards say sacrifice, do something crazy.
Yeah, and also they're just pain lands. They're good. It's a good red source in a deck where maybe that fixes your mana a little bit.
Right.
And I don't have a tune anymore, so having that.
It gives you an extra utility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important.
So yeah, it makes me wanting to play around with lands a little less exciting because I was kind of wanting to do like a Jund Reanimator, akin to like
that sounds like so much fun.
The birthing pod strategy of the days of old, something like that. But I don't have Ramen Up Red to like fix my mana or bring back from the graveyard.
Wah, wah, wah.
I'm gonna go next door and I'm gonna send Bobby in.
I thought I was going next door.
I'll send Bobby in.
Okay.
Because you and I are a little bit more on the same page.
Oh, that's right. Bobby hates all the bands, so we'll talk to Bobby and see what he thinks. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. And then answer a few questions about chat. God's Favorite Gifts is easily countered by MB Able Abrade. I don't know what MB Able means, but I do know what Abrade means, and you're right. Abrade. Main board. Yes, main boardable Abrade. Because Abrade is just a good 2-cost removal spell. It's very fair, and you're correct. It can just destroy God's Fairest Gifts. So if they cheat it out, or if they, with like a refurbish, or if they hardcast it for 7 mana, you have a 2 mana answer that can stop it before it gets out of control. Absolutely. Yeah, main board. Bobby is right then. He's right to be upset about the bans. Well, we'll talk to him. I mean, I'm kind of okay with the tune. The other 3, I don't know if I agree with, because if you get rid of a tune, all of a sudden Rogue Refiner isn't as good. All right, Bobby. Oh, also, one more thing from chat before we see how mad Bobby is about these. Vamps can't get out of control with so many creature removals in the format. That's true. And I'm actually really glad that Wizards of the Coast is making more removal spells. So, Banner Restricted, Bobby. What do you think? I was excited for at least a tune for Aether. There were a few that I was confused about. What do you think about the Banner Restricted list?
I think they have undermined every bit of confidence anyone has in Standard as a playable format.
How come?
If you play a deck and it wins, you're under the gun.
You have to be worried about it getting banned.
Mm-hmm. The value of Standard cards is volatile enough as it is. Now when you're just shooting every deck down that starts to do well, you're no longer providing any bit of confidence in the product itself.
Yeah.
So I think they should have unbanned everything.
So just to clarify, because there's a couple things in chat here. So one of the things we were talking about before you came in was that Mono Red took a hit with Rampaging Ferocidon. And Madal says there'll still be a good Mono Red shell curving out at Hazaret. And it'll still be the gatekeeper kind of style deck for the dumber decks, right? Because it's still gonna be fast, even without Rampaging Ferocidon. And then when you say it undermines everyone's confidence in Standard, that's because everybody's worried that if I build a good deck or I buy the ingredients to play a top tier deck, then I run the danger of losing the value of my cards because Wizards is going to ban them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I would agree with that. I think that a lot of people's philosophy with different competitive games and stuff like that is let the players find a solution. Don't make something and then take it away because it's prevalent. Let players find a solution. Prevalent. That's what I was thinking of. So wait, you think they should have banned everything? Smuggler's Copter, Attunement with Aether, Emrakul, The Promised End, which isn't even legal anymore.
Yeah, that. So, Aetherworks, Marvel, Copter, just unban everything and make it a battle royale.
Well,
instead of having one deck to play, or 2 decks to play, why not allow there to be like 4 or 5 really good decks in Standard to play, and it's just a paper, rock, scissors.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every set since Oath has had a banned card in it, or every block.
Since Oath of the Gatewatch,
Yeah.
it does kind of feel like that. Chat brings up a counterpoint to you, and to me, because I was saying, let the players find a solution to the problem. 6 months, tier 1, a tier 1 deck warping everything around itself, and it's still tier 1, and players tried to find a solution, and Teamer destroyed everything after sideboarding, is what their argument was. So even after trying to find a solution to the Teamer Energy deck, and making sideboard choices to beat that deck, Teamer Energy was just so powerful, it was able to push through those.
Well, if you give Vehicles Smuggler's Copter back, Vehicle seems pretty good.
That's true. That's true.
If you give Aetherworks Marvel a deck again, which curves out into whatever giant dinosaurs at a cheap price, that's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't just say that one deck, just because it has 6 good cards in it, is not, is just the answer. I mean, different versions of the same deck are fine.
Right, like different iterations of the deck.
This is a common.
Yeah.
It's a quarter. This is an uncommon. It's a quarter.
This is rare. It was like $3
at most.
Yeah.
So it's just like, they're banning cards that have very little value. So, like, this was a very affordable deck that everyone could play. Maybe that's why it's just everywhere.
So, chat disagrees with you a little bit. Let's just start at the top. So they tried letting players find a solution. Kataru X says they tried letting players find a solution. There wasn't any. Medal says, as far as undermining players' confidence in standard, tournament organizers organizing less standard FNMs and having less turn up is undermining player confidence in standard. Either I'm hit in my wallet or I'm hit in my ability to play the format at all in a fun way. So I think what he's trying to say by that is that, and we've noticed kind of a downturn in standard show up and stuff like that. And so people, people are kind of losing some decks, but there's also these decks is what people are arguing we're making the format unfun to play.
Well,
yeah.
To be fair, I did go and play in an open and played 7 or 8 rounds, and 6 out of the 6 of them or more were against Teamer Energy. I just think that
also Smuggler's Copter could be run by Teamer Energy.
It could.
And it would just make Teamer Energy even better, right? Wouldn't it?
It could. But
I can't punch through with my my cub. Might as well crew this flyer.
Well, I think what it all boils down to, I don't think they should have banned it. What if they just said that energy emptied out at the end of turns?
Oh yeah, if they had just adjusted the ruling on energy.
That might have been easier than banning everything.
That would have been crazy.
That would have been way better. It would have been way more doable. It would have made energy less playable. You still would have been able to play a tune with the Aether and have 2 energy to use for your long test cup or whatever, but you wouldn't be able to store it and use it on someone else's turn unless the thing that gave you energy was an instant.
And what you bring up is something that chat brought up too. J-Bone Capone says, how about stop making mechanics that you cannot interact with? How about that? How about stop focusing on a game that's fun to watch and go back to a game that's truly challenging to play? So that's kind of a thing. Is a lot of players feel like Wizards of the Coast is doing, because we've had more bans in this new standard format in the past few years than we've ever had, and part of that is because Wizards of the Coast is trying to make Magic the Gathering a more spectators format. It's also why we have this dumb hand cam, so we can show you these cards.
So Magic is good to watch. It's so people go to football games, baseball games by the hundreds of thousands. Local stadium holds 120,000 people. Magic's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Any type of competition is fun to watch. I don't know, like it.
Also, chat thinks you're wrong about the energy emptying out at the thing.
Well, that's fine. Everyone's allowed their own opinion.
That's true.
They can be wrong if they want.
Oh man.
How? Okay.
Chat versus Bobby.
Aether Revolt.
Yeah, Aether
What
Revolt.
a great name for a set. What if, in that set, we had things that made energy?
Now, see, that goes
work.
back to what chat said, which was, what if we had ways to drain energy?
But you can't retroactively change a set.
You can't.
You can't retroactively print energy into a new set because it's specific to
Right.
Kaladesh. So,
But if there was a way, like,
The
if there was
best-
like a black card that drained energy and gained you life or gave you creatures or something?
Solemnity was supposed to help, but it sure didn't.
No.
I'm serious. They should have changed the ruling for energy. I think they should have made it either don't ban anything and make energy empty at the end of turn,
Uh-huh.
or unban everything and have a battle royale.
Unban everything. So if they were to unban everything, that would bring us back Aetherworks Marvel, Smuggler's Copter.
That's it.
That's it. Because Emerald's already out.
Emerald's out, but you've got big dinosaurs and gear hulks and big things to do. You just have a pretty good Teamer Aetherworks Marvel with Smuggler's Copter deck.
They want you to read the comments.
I wonder if they know that I can't read.
Guys, Bobby can't read, so cut him a break. I mean, I think it's a good counterpoint to say, oh yeah, just unban everything. But I think, Bobby, you also bring up kind of maybe even a more important point, which is Wizards of the Coast just needs to print more interaction. Like, players just want to be able to interact, right? It feels bad to lose to something that you have no control over. Like, it's one thing if it's like, man, if I had just killed that creature, then I could have stabilized, I could have won. But when it's like, well, he had 5,000 energy, and there's no way for me to like get rid of the energy, and so now, for the rest of the game I have to deal with all of his cards being really, really good. It's annoying. And so
I don't know where my glasses are.
if anybody out there in chat knows where Bobby's glasses are, let us know.
Yeah, I just, week in and week out, we have to come in here and sell this product, okay? And if I'm selling a product to someone and they're looking at me and they're saying, well, I would buy some of those cards, but I'm worried they're going to get banned.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to say to that?
Yeah, and from our
is-
perspective as a store, and this happened with like Splinter Twin in Modern and stuff like that.
This happened with lots of things in Modern.
Because they hit Modern really hard with bans while they were trying to televise it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So us as a store, we buy cards and sell cards. And so if people are constantly worried that their fun money is going into something that's not going to be fun, then they don't want to spend the money on it. Because not everybody wants to be a pro player. They just want to play. They just want to play Magic on Friday. Once a week they get to come and play Magic. Maybe they want a card to improve their deck, but I've been working on this deck all season. I've been working on this deck for 3 months, and now it's nearing completion. Oh well, I better not work on this deck anymore because I'm afraid it's going to get banned.
Yeah,
That's something that definitely sucks.
Rotation is hard enough to explain to someone who is just now getting into Magic and some of their cards rotate out. Now we throw in bans on top of it. Every standard cycle, you got to throw
It's
in
rough.
bans on top of it, and it's like, and I will admit that basically for the last 16 months, it's been what's the next iteration of Teamer Energy going to be?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to be the.
It's been a tough season.
Rogue Refiner, Whirler Virtuoso, and Attune with the Aether are 3 very good cards. They're very, very good. They're very valuable.
Good casting cost.
They're very ergonomic cards. They do
Look how ergonomic this is.
They do what they do well, and they do it very easily. But I don't know that it just doesn't seem to inspire confidence in it. First of all, moving forward.
Right. How are they gonna? How
What's
do you
the
think
next-
they should do it moving forward?
The question isn't going to be now at this point. People are not going to come to the counter and look at me and say, "What do you think the next best deck idea is going to be?" They're going to come to me and say, "Do you think this card is going to get banned?"
Right, and that's just, I mean, that's maybe just it's going to be part of the Magic environment. A couple things from chat, and going back on another one of the things that you said, if they want to further drive pack sales, bring block constructed, because that drives pack sales more than standard does. We never really got into block constructed, but I think that's something that would be fresh enough to kind of like do over and over again, and like would make for an interesting format. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they should bring back block constructed? Would that help with things?
It might.
Because then maybe they ban something in standard, but they don't ban it in block because it's not as powerful.
Honestly, I kind of like extended.
You kind of like extended?
Yeah, I feel like that was pretty good when they had it going because Modern continues to expand, and I feel like they look at Modern specifically, and it limits what they can print in Standard.
Modern limits what they can print in
Yeah.
Standard?
I feel like they look at what's played in Standard, or what they're going to print, and they have to limit themselves based off Modern.
Right.
Um,
But extended, comments say extended is not going to drive pack sales, and Wizards of the Coast wants to sell packs. A few other things too.
How would it not drive pack sales? It extends the play life of the cards.
It extends the play life of the cards, so yeah.
So you buy packs. Let's say
You're not worried that the cards are going to go out of style, basically.
Yeah, they start doing extended again in Dominaria. All of a sudden, Dominaria cards are now good for 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever the cycle is. Because now they're doing this weird cycle expansion thing, whatever it is.
The new 2-set block rotation is kind of crazy.
And that further reinforces that the cards you buy, because let's just face it, right now, if you are a new player to Magic, you can start today, buy your decks, buy your packs, whatever it is you're going to buy, go home and watch an infinite hours of YouTube and become a financial wizard at Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
You can have financial insight and everything, and all of a sudden you went from being, all right, this is fun, I'm going to play Magic, to I have to get my value out of these cards immediately.
But you guys, your comments are coming in. I'm reading them, but Bobby, of course, can't see them. So I was just showing him what you guys were saying.
This is exactly why I play Modern more than Standard.
Yeah. So, and a lot of our players are moving towards Modern because they feel like their cards have more staying power, and that's an option. Standard is always easier to get into. It's a little bit cheaper, and the cards are more readily available. And it's also easier to get into because you don't. The meta is different with Modern. There's like a whole bunch of established decks that you have to become familiar with. There's more nuances and rules that you have to know. But yeah, if you want to kind of keep your value and stuff.
Why is this thing doing this?
I don't know. Let me see. What's it doing? It's not doing anything.
It was flip-flopping. It was rotating.
Oh, I don't know.
Turn that off. That's dumb.
Yeah. I'll turn that off. But extended. So another argument is extended's pool would be quite a bit larger, right? So new sets would have a smaller splash. So it wouldn't drive as many sales, kind of like in the extended route. But it would be another way to kind of like keep your cards relevant. But that's why Commander is growing in popularity so much, right?
Whenever.
So they should just cater to that. Right?
Whenever the last rotation happened, we still have Battle for Zendikar enough for the Gatewatch booster packs.
We do.
So if Extended started today and went back to whatever, those packs all of a sudden would be relevant again.
They would be. But why should Wizards of the Coast care about that? Because they've already sold us the boxes.
I would be more apt to buy more boxes if I knew that I could sell them.
Fair point.
Past that, because we can't sell. Other than Gatewatch and BFC packs are nearly impossible to sell at the moment.
You can get an Expedition.
Sure, you can. So there's that. So
Market confidence. That's what you're saying. Market
Extend-
confidence. Chat says that too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm confident if I buy this product, it will have value today and it will have value later.
I don't think that extended is going to solve the standard problem.
But you're right, Herman. They don't care about selling oath packs.
The only thing that's going to sell standard is a good product. We talked about this last night.
Yep.
In our D&D thing.
When we talked about D&D, yeah.
5th edition is a good.
It's polished. It's high quality
product.
Right. And it's not overprinted, right? Because you can't overprint D&D. Well, you could, but please don't.
There are more players now than ever playing Magic. It's
right.
going to be impossible to please everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The game is growing in leaps and bounds. It's crazy, and it makes me happy. I've been selling this game for 11 years now.
It's grown a lot.
It's better now than it's ever been, except for one aspect, and that's
standard.
No, not standard. Standard's actually really good.
I can't rip these cards correctly, by the way.
So, I ran tournaments, FNMs, during Cobblade.
I remember that. I played Cobblade.
That was a miserable time in Magic.
That deck was so good, though.
It was way too good. Teamer Energy is really good. So how do we fix this? Mm-hmm. We, as a store, can't fix this.
Right, because we don't have control over the cards that are made.
This is not something we can do. The players can say, "Oh yeah, we need to change this." Something else that I thought was interesting. I was looking at some tournament lists for bigger events, opens or something.
Yeah.
And I think there was one here on the East Coast, and
this is the Popper?
No, it was standard. And I think the top 8 there was 5 Teamer Energy and 3 Ramen Up Red. However, there was a standard open or something, GP, something like that, in the Philippines.
Yeah.
The same day. Top 8, wildly different. There was not 2 of the same deck in the top 8 in the Philippines.
So why do you think that is?
No one's innovating.
No one here in the States is innovating.
Maybe.
Well, and that actually brings up a good point. And
do these weekly tournaments.
Yeah, which is encourage people to innovate, which you're going to start doing on the Spice Rack.
We're going to try to do more.
So Bobby's going to host a show every Tuesday where he's going to encourage people to innovate and stuff like that. So if you like that, check us out on Tuesday.
Tuesdays, I thought we were doing it on Saturdays.
And Saturdays.
And Saturdays? Oh, man.
Mostly Saturdays.
Looks like I'm going to be building a lot. So the idea with what I want to do with that is to look at our local player base, see what they're playing.
Play standard, please. We like standard.
Standard is good. There is open innovation in standard that is not available in other formats.
Right, because it's a creative constraint. Because you have access to fewer cards, you have to. There's creative constraints.
Path to Exile is good in Modern.
Path to Exile is good in Modern. We don't have Path to Exile in Standard.
I'm just saying, Path to Exile is good in Modern. There's no change to be made there. It's just the best that you're going to get in Modern. In Standard, your situation is different. But with the Spice Rack, I want to encourage our local players
here in Knoxville
to innovate. And throughout the week, I want please show me your innovations. If it looks cool,
let's talk about it.
We're going to feature it on the Spice Rack and talk about how that has changed what you've done. And we're going to do it in Standard too. And we're definitely going to do it in Standard now that there's a ban.
I'm going to tag Josiah in to continue to talk about the bans. I'm going to let Bobby read some of your all's chat comments and let him address some of them, since I agree with chat for the most part, and maybe Bobby doesn't.
In my experience here, every Magic player is worried about value. Generally, for me here running tournaments, you have stepped beyond the tabletop, the kitchen table, where you're just playing for fun, and you're stepping into the competitive arena. And something about the competitive arena just, kind of puts people into financial mode. And in the last few years, I've noticed a huge increase in the number of people that are concerned with the finance of Magic. And I feel like every single one of them asks me, did you see the latest this video or that video on YouTube that's basically just financial advice?
What?
Yo.
Howdy.
I'm supposed to read this, but I can't see it, so you can kind of...
I'm Josiah. I'm back. Howdy, guys.
You can keep an eye on that because I can't see it. Basically, I think I've set the chat on fire.
Bobby, you stink.
I mean, like, see, but, you know.
So what were you and Steven talking about? I was next door working at our game store Level Up. So I wasn't watching.
I was working before that. I don't think they should have banned. I don't think they should be doing bans. I think they should be putting out a better product.
We're from Knoxville, Tennessee, which is Eastern Tennessee, and we
don't matter.
We don't really matter. But I will say we are kind of close to like Louisville and Atlanta and Nashville, so you have a lot in Charlotte. So we have within 4 hours you have really big epicenters for like Magic tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, I like going to opens and stuff, and I played Standard in Louisville whenever the week before Aetherworks Marvel got banned. So like, I slogged through the misery, you know.
Well, I think that I don't know if they said this. I don't know if you were talking about this, but I think Bobby's viewpoint comes from owning a game store that bans are bad for Magic and also for game stores because it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence to have a game that just like...
Yeah, we went over market confidence and like I said, I told Steven, I feel like doing something like extended, not Frontier, you know, Frontier's fine, but, you know, I don't know, like, Standard was miserable.
Yeah.
I will give it that. Four Color Energy, Teamer Energy, they're great decks. Rogue Refiner is too good, you know.
Someone said Yu-Gi-Oh 2.0.
It literally, like, it's the only... It's getting close. Yu-Gi-Oh was bad.
Well, I think it's crazy. So when Ixalan came out, you had a lot of people liking dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Which was like, people were like, oh shit, I'm going to build Naya dinosaurs and maybe that will compete and like be a top... or like a tier 2, tier 1 list, and I was like, cool, so, you know, next Rivals is going to give us some support for merfolk and vampires and dinosaurs, and they just made the dinosaurs, like, derpier and bigger and crazier.
Yeah.
And for Limited and Draft, that's great, but if anything, they just kind of kicked Dinosaur out of the running of being a standard deck.
Yeah.
On top of, and in the face of knowing that you have Godfair's Gift and Energy and Ramen Up Red all being really like real decks. Mm-hmm. They're very good decks. And so it's like, I don't know. You just kind of hope that you never have to ban anything. It does happen. Someone was saying it's just like something that happens.
But it happens consistently now.
Yeah. And but I will say I think Standard's fairly efficiently priced. Like it's pretty easy to get into the game now as opposed but it's stuff like this where when Wizards bans this many cards and this many decks, the 2 decks, you nuke some value and you get people going, well, all of a sudden that transferable resource I had is just gone.
Yeah. Remember Cons Block whenever you ran 12 fetches in a standard deck and it was like $400 just for the land base? Like, Standard's cheap to get into right now. I mean, Ramen Up Red's not that expensive. I don't know. It's they're doing a great job on their sealed. Like all of the limited and sealed stuff's been great.
Yeah. Standard is never cheap, dude. Well, I think so. Normally, when I tell people, when someone comes into the shop and they go, I don't have much money, but I want to play Magic, I never point them to a competitive... Anything that's competitive costs money. Yeah. So it's like, Standard is a competitive thing. And so normally when no one wants to, you know, if they don't have the income to spend and they just want to play Magic, you know, that's where you get the tabletop players that just buy packs and go home and play. Mm-hmm. Or something like Draft. Something you can come in and out of, where a format you can't. If you're gone for a couple weeks... chances are your cards or your deck are just not viable as much, or you just are out of the swing where you're not really winning anything because you aren't testing or playing or anything. Mm-hmm. Where normally, if you want to not spend a lot of money at all, I just point them towards limited.
Mm-hmm.
And we play Magic League here, which is at most you're spending less than $10 a week on Magic.
Yeah.
But standard, I think, is fairly priced. Fairly priced, I'll say.
So
that.
if you start from zero,
Except for Scarab God.
You're new to the game, and you're like, I want to play Magic. I'm not going to say to you, all right, how about $1,000 on a modern deck? Let's do this.
Yeah.
Or $2,500 on a legacy deck. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, well, standard is pretty self-contained. It's a good place to learn the rules. It's a good place to play, and I can't for the life of me believe that in playtesting, this energy thing didn't come up.
Yeah, and I guess back to the standard costing a lot thing. Like, there's a swing. Standard is crazy, I think, because where modern happens, and maybe every once in a while you have one deck go out of favor or another deck come into favor, like a brew or a road brew or something. But the decks don't fluctuate as much in price because you don't have these crazy bannings coming left and right. So it's like, but it is just more expensive because of fetches and shocks and scape shift and cards like that. Where standard, it's harder to get in the tune with it, but it can become not super expensive because if you buy into a deck and play it and then get out of the deck in a timely fashion, you can have some value at your local game store on TCG or something like that. There are marketplaces, and Standard runs that show more than any other format does. You know what I mean? Like, Legacy prices don't change that much. They're just expensive cards, and Legacy's always going to be that priced format. Where Standard, if you are a person, and when you inherently play Standard, you got to know that, like, it's almost more, it's where the margins matter more than in any other format, really.
Yeah.
So it's like, I really like Hostage Taker, and I'm going to play that deck, but I don't want to play it for too long, which is kind of inherently sucky. That's the bad thing about Standard, is that because of rotations and stuff like that, you have to be aware of that stuff. But as long as you're aware of that stuff, you know, and reading articles and kind of doing your grinding research of to play.
Watching YouTube and all that, where you become a financial wizard.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people at our game store, you have the people that hold onto a deck for 3 years, and they come in and go, hey, I have the Shadows over Innistrad Werewolves deck. Can I get anything for it? Sadly, you missed your boat. Arlen Cord was worth some money, and now she's not, and it doesn't matter anymore. And you really probably don't want to spend that extra arm and a leg to play energy or buy energy or something like that. But to the people that are coming on FNMs and stuff like that, they're playing a standard deck, and once they either don't enjoy it anymore or there's something new, they will feel okay about trading in what cards they don't want to play or can't play anymore and buy into the next kind of thing.
And the most key important thing to this for us as the guys behind the counter who have to run these events and sell these things, is we have to answer to this.
Yeah.
Like, people who invested in buying the Game Day Rogue Refiners from us or whatever. What was that? Was that it? No, it was Renegade Rallier. People who invested in, like, foils of these cards or bought these cards are, like, coming in and they're like, this is banned now. I don't know what to do with it. What can I replace it with? You know, well, we don't know. We don't know what the next banning is going to be. We don't know if the next set's going to have banned cards in it. You know, like, we have to answer to this, and this is how we live.
Yeah.
We make our living selling cards, and whenever the customers don't know what to do because they're afraid it's going to get banned, this was a thing in Modern after they banned Splinter Twin, like.
I also like to say, I like Blood Sun because doesn't it draw you a card?
Yes, it does.
That's kind of sick. I will say, Berman21 said Legacy and Modern are my formats now. And I will say that as a Magic player, I think I love the idea of Vintage, but I'm never going to play Vintage.
Yeah.
I used to play Legacy, and I love Legacy, and we actually instilled Legacy at our store now, and it's become a really healthy thing super quickly. And Modern is amazing. I run the Modern night, and I don't play because I work at a card shop, and I also... The deck that caught my attention the quickest was the Jund Vengevine list, because that's just a deck doing all the things I like to do. But I'm just like, I don't really have the time. If I'm running the Modern event, I really can't play the Modern here, so I just wouldn't get to play as much as I do. It's kind of a rational thing. But I do say that in a fiscal sense of stuff like that, you have value in Legacy, and you feel confident in your value. So spending $1,000 into a format or something like that, you feel a little more confident because like some of your cards are on the reserve list. Also, it's a format that like bigger tournaments, smaller tournaments, those cards are just gonna have a little bit of value always. Mm-hmm. Where standard, you're right, every day is a new day, and that's the scary part. But once again, that's where you get into the fun, bigger margins where a card one day will go down or up 400%. And that's where some people like to live, and that's where some people like to try to make their money, kind of like day traders. But at the end of the day, it's a game, and it really seemed like nobody was enjoying themselves.
Now, one thing I will say this may do that kind of puts me only in a little bit of a position to support it is, yes, the bans may inspire revolt. You know, people might be less likely to buy things because they're afraid it'll get banned because it's too good. But what it may also do is further inspire confidence in other cards.
Yeah.
That might be good. However, if another deck starts to become good again and they don't give us the option to play 3 or 4 different decks that counteract each other, then we're just going to have more bans and more murmurings that it's just not good enough. Like, this is another Mark Rosewater made this and didn't test it affinity thing because he made affinity.
Yeah. Anyone said any bets on bans and Legacy?
I don't know. I don't think we'll see any bans in Legacy.
I know isn't Humans played in Legacy now?
I think.
And that's like the kind of newer flavor that's been more recent, and isn't like Blue Moon.
I haven't seen any Blue Moon. So that's the thing about Legacy.
Top was the last thing banned.
Yeah, Top went away. People put Portent in to try to like pad that and play Topless Miracles and like.
Well, we have a player who plays Topless Miracles, and I think Jacob Ryan plays Miracles as well.
Yeah.
And I think that it's miserable, and I think the one thing they always get is someone's just like, oh, what do you play in Legacy? They're like, oh, Miracles, and they're just like, that deck would be better with Top, which is like,
every time.
It's a funny insult, but like that aside, the person still enjoys playing it, and so they're probably not winning or doing super well, but like maybe they are. Maybe they're winning in their local meta, or maybe they're still enjoying themselves playing. So that's really what's most important because. What?
Your dad wants to talk to you.
Cool.
You're out of here. Bobby's dad is here.
Looks like y'all told on me.
That's all right, chat. We got him.
Yeah, some guy said all you have to do is play Miracles well and it's all good. Yeah,
Bobby said unban everything, so I called his dad.
And his dad's yelling at him.
And I said, Bobby's dad is also named Bobby. I said, Bobby, your son wants to unban everything in Standard. And he said, I'll be right there.
Yeah, I think.
So I took care of it.
I think actually the first kind of tournament, or not even a tournament, I forget where it was. I think it was somewhere in Europe. But I think the first thing after the banning of Top, Miracles still placed like second in that particular tournament. So
it's still good.
Yeah, so Miracles is still good, but it is one of those things where Legacy Miracles they banned Top in Legacy, but yet people are still able to play Miracles in Legacy.
Right.
Where
it's just less good.
It's just less. Or I mean, it's just different because I think people started playing Portent.
Portent, yeah,
and,
actually,
and Predict, I think, is also played. It was that card from like Odyssey block.
Mm-hmm.
Miracles Topless requires skill, where Top Miracles didn't. How do you feel about lands? I really
the Legacy lands deck.
Yeah. I really like Manaless Dredge a lot, and also it's fairly priced as well. And
going to lunch.
Okay.
Bobby's going to lunch, guys. His dad came, yelled at him, and now his dad's taking him out to lunch because he feels bad.
I said I'm going to lunch, but I'm actually in trouble probably.
Okay.
Y'all done told on me. Everyone's mad at me. Standard's stupid. I hate Wizards of the Coast. Mark Rosewater, you can die.
Whoa, Bobby. Whoa. Listen, hey, we like Wizards of the Coast.
No, I like Wizards of the Coast.
I actually like Mark.
Bobby's an outlier here.
Mark Rosewater, actually watching him test Unstable, like he did a bunch of like, I guess like a media tour where he went and played Unstable with a bunch of people because he was super excited. I like him more now that I got to watch that stuff than just him being like interviewed in front of Amonkhet banners. Like, gods are cool. I don't know. Watching him talk about Unstable.
What we wanted to do was make magic cards.
Yeah.
I hate his flannel shirts.
All right.
Touche.
Well, that's fine.
One of us has
Can
to
you
leave.
hang out for like another 15 minutes and then go to lunch?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
All right. Cool.
We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
wrap
see
it
what
up.
chat says. R.I.P. Bobby. Bye, Bobby. I like it when they make Steven uncomfortable. Deathrite Shaman is not
Which is
busting
every
here.
day.
It does keep Reanimator and Dredge in check. We were talking about lands.
Yeah.
Not much either. I mean, 400 on Lion's Eye, then 400 for the base. Foil is 1,700. We got foil nuts in the chat.
Foil nuts.
I will never get foils because I don't know. I don't like foils, but having an expensive foil, like I don't know. We got in a foil.
Nahiri.
No, Kiki Jiki
that's
last week
right, yeah.
from Kamigawa, and I was like, it was a card that I was like, man, I really want to play a deck where I have 4 foiled Kiki Jikis. So
That's
I don't understand foils per se, but
yeah,
yes,
some people it's just like it's flexing on people.
Yeah.
You know, like when it's just like I'm so confident in this deck, I've now
went as far as I
got foils for it.
The multiplier is pretty crazy just because you have pauper decks, like $30 pauper decks, and then foil pauper decks is like, it's a crazy
nuts.
It's nuts
Yeah.
how like crazy foils can get.
But also, by the way, a time where a ban was good, banning Peregrine Drake in Pauper.
Was really good.
Thank you. Good grief. We had a Pauper community here, and Peregrine Drake literally killed the format. Like, because there's no other deck to play.
Yeah.
You just couldn't beat that with the resources available to you. So sometimes bans are necessary. I understood a tune, in summary, I understood a tune with Aether. Rampaging Ferocidon, a little bit less. Rogue Refiner, this guy. We definitely understood that one, Wizards. But then Ramen Up Ruins didn't really get that one.
So if I can go back to standard for a moment, I understand a tune with Aether, and now with some backing, I understand Rampaging Ferocidon. I think it would have been okay to let Rogue live a little bit because he's still a turn 3, and in a format where you do have push,
Yeah.
like Revolt push Rogue Refiner or Fatal push whatever their turn 1 or turn 2 threat is.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna trade with whatever you play, but that is standard. There's interactions for almost every play.
Right.
And that's just
they need that.
They need that, and it's just the interactive format. And so it's like I get a tune. If we're afraid about burn afterwards, I get the Ferocidon, but the ruins I don't quite understand. Ferocidon made sense because red. I can't read very well.
Here. Hold on, let's see. Ferocidon made sense because red hard is vampires and stuff.
See, you can't read either, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what MU is. Sorry, Furman.
Sorry.
I want to play Pauper, but honestly hesitant on it. I don't want a Frontier run, and I know Pauper Online is huge. Yeah, Ryan, like, if you've got a local game store that plays Pauper, I can say that that's probably one of the most fun formats that I play.
I'll say this about Pauper.
And it's cheap, which is just so cool.
Well, the thing about, and for some...
Matchups, by the way, is MU.
Okay, the matchups, okay. I'll also say this about Pauper. This is my big thing about Pauper. Is it's the one format where people will probably loan you a deck right away.
Yes, absolutely.
There's guy, because I mean, when the decks are, $20 to $50, guy might have 3 or 4 of them. Guy is really willing to say, hey, here's goblins, here's Pauper goblins, play it. And also, Frontier, I don't enjoy the idea of Frontier, so I definitely understand, hey, if something's kind of a fringier format, akin to like a Commander or a Frontier or a Pauper, you're afraid of going too deep and just having no one to play with.
Yeah.
But Pauper...
Like Frontier.
Yeah. Pauper plays very much like Vintage. It's some of the most intensive Magic you'll ever play. You get such powerful spells like Gataxian Probe.
Yeah,
and
stuff that's
Preordained.
banned in other formats or limited.
You get Gush. So anyone who's ever played Legacy or Vintage, you get Gush. 4 of Gush in Pauper.
Gush is pretty good.
It's just a crazy spell.
Did you know that there's an entire book on how to play Gush?
Yeah, there's an entire book
like
on
it's 250 pages or
Yeah.
something.
And I think it predates the banning of Gush.
Yeah, it does.
Like the guy he played Gush in Legacy, wrote a book, then they banned Gush. And it's probably his fault, you know what I mean? Like
it might be his fault.
Guy commits to writing a book and they're like, yeah, that card may be too
that
good.
card's too good if you can write a whole book on it.
Yeah, I mean, it probably
Might be
took
too
one
good.
guy, like, at FNM, just one, Teamer Energy, #a and they were like, ban it.
Ban it, get it out.
Yeah, and this guy wrote a book on a card, and it got banned.
Good stuff.
Okay, we probably need to finish up
We gotta
here
wrap it up
in the
here,
next
yeah.
minute.
So we actually next door have
a game store.
a game store, and there's people in there now, and we got Bobby in trouble, and he's got to go to lunch. So
with his dad.
Yeah.
I'll say this, anyone, this is a really fun conversation. We're going to start doing a kind of a panel discussion most weeks on Monday around this time. So if you enjoyed this at all, please follow us and or like and subscribe to this channel.
Absolutely.
We also play D&D. We stream a lot of Magic, either brewing with Bobby, or we also do level up locals where it's F&Ms and people playing
Commander, standard, draft, that sort of thing.
I play board games, and then we all play a D&D campaign, so this has
On
been
Sundays.
really fun. We really felt like he literally looked at the screen this morning and screamed just because not only was a tune gone, which I was all in. I knew
Yeah.
I would have put money
I was
on
excited
that.
about a tune being gone.
But there were 3 other cards that, now that we've talked about it, and thanks to chat, we've kind of got our mind in the local
a
game
little
store.
more understanding.
A little more understanding. It still was interesting to be Emma Cruel gone, Smuggler's Copter, we were okay, as a colorless spell, that goes in any deck, and they're both too powerful.
Yeah, just too
or
good.
Aetherworks, it was getting pretty miserable doing the same play line
Right,
every
and that's
so often.
and Teamer Energy. It was too good. Everybody was playing it. It wasn't fun to play against, and you couldn't interact with it.
Yeah. So now, this was just a little bit more of a draw drop moment, but where there is darkness, there's always light.
There's always light.
And Rivals, like I said, made Vampires way better. Merfolk is more viable, and I do think
Mer viable.
more viable. We're gonna have a lot of interesting
Nice.
new decks, and Godfarrow's Gift is gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah. So you heard it here first, folks. Godfarrow's Gift, pretty okay. Although Chap brought up a good point, which is just a braid.
But it's always been there.
It's true. A braid has always been there. So
Well, it's
anyway,
I know that Godfarrow, because it isn't legendary. And
Right.
So I think I've seen on Moto people have 2 Godfarrow's Gift.
Yeah.
I'll abrade the one.
yeah.
Abrade, Refurbish is a crazy card. Even with
Yeah.
Gear Hulks, even just reanimating a Gear Hulk on turn 4 is good.
Yeah.
Let alone doing the thing that lets you just do that every turn is even crazier.
That's pretty bonkers.
Manglehorn, I really wish Manglehorn was seen more main deck play.
It might now.
But yeah, so guys, thank you a lot.
Yeah, so thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah, don't forget to follow us, because we do, we just talk about kind of the day-to-day in a card shop, so you'll see more of that if you follow our channel. We also have a YouTube channel, so if you miss something, you can watch it there.
I beat face with Bobby. Bobby, he's kind of our villain. He's our local villain at the store.
He's
But
a
yesterday we played Two-Headed Giant for Rivals, and we swept the tournament. So I think that's archived on YouTube if you want
Yeah,
to.
go check that out if you want to see some limited whoopings.
Pirates and Vampires. It was
Pirates
a lot
and
of fun.
Vampires, cool.
Hostage Taker's a real card.
Yeah, and we'll be doing something like this next week around the same time. So
Thank you so much, guys.
thanks for watching, guys.
We had to talk about the bands.
We had to talk about the bands. Have a good day.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. cards.